G'day. As we continue our project 6-seater right here, we're fitting a steel tray. As per our previous videos, we talked about sourcing our steel tray, and it's a used one. It's a used steel tray for a dual cab ute. It's off a Hilux. We've had to modify the mounts a little bit because it's off a later model. Anyway, we cover all that in that video. If you are interested, we're talking prep today, and this is just a quick one. So these are the drop sides for the ute in question. These are just steel. They're quite well made. They're quite solid drop sides. When I bought the ute had been when I bought the tray, the steel tray, it had been sandblasted, and the tray itself had been painted silver. It still is silver as per the previous video. But the drop sides were bare metal. They'd been sandblasted, and he hadn't got around to painting them, and that's how I got them in bare metal. So to give you an idea of what I was looking at, that's a pretty good indication. You can see hopefully the yellow rust in it. There's places that are worse than others. That end there is probably the worst end. There's a bit of an indication of how bad they were. So what we're doing is we're prepping them for paint. And so they all look like that kind of various degree of yellowing. That one's pretty good, but you can see in the corners it's still a bit yellow. Anyway, if you've got something like that, if you've sandblasted something or you've got something in bare metal and you just haven't got back to painting it, there's a couple of good products out there. It's just generally called rust converter. You can get it at a hardware store or an automotive store. Most of those places, anywhere that does automotive paints, will certainly have it, and there'll be also places, like in hardware stores or stuff, will sell it too. Rust converter, and you can just paint that on your panel, and you leave it there for about, I think it depends the bottle that I'm using at the moment, which is just a generic branded product. It says hold it there for about 30 minutes, and then you have a damp, not wet cloth, and you wipe it off, and then you buff it off with something in its instructions. Use methylated spirits. And then follow the steps, whatever you will, for painting. So it's really simple. As you can see, like with that panel, that's what it looked like. It was actually, the insides were worse than the outside. It was more like those outer corners, really quite, progressed surface rust. And that's what it's brought it up to. Nice clean metal surface ready for painting. So, and that's just after 30 minutes. So you just paint it on with a brush, very, very simple, then just clean it off. So the next step here will be to prime it. We're going to paint this in Raptor. We're going to do the tray in Raptor. And what we're going to do is the sides we're going to use Raptor primer, and then we'll use the Raptor product to do the sides. We're going to do the headboard the same. We're going to sand it back and then prime it. Just in straight wrap in the primer, and then straight Raptor, the headboard, the sides and rope rail, and then the floor of the tray. Raptor sell a grip kit or rubberizing kit. It's the same thing as if you've ever painted the concrete floor. You'll acid etch it or similar, and then you'll paint it. Usually those products are self-priming, but if you want them to grip, you'll pour in kind of this rubberized type product, and that gives you in your top coat, and that gives you a little bit of grip, so it's not real slick. One of the complaints, I haven't used Raptor before, we haven't used Raptor here before, but one of the complaints is that someone else has brought to me, he said, look, just be careful with it, because I didn't like it because it had no grip. And I said, did you use the Raptor grip product? And they said, no, we didn't use it. Because we felt we probably didn't need to, or we weren't aware of it, or whatever they said. I can't exactly remember, but the point is they didn't use it. And when we're loading stuff on the ute and tying it down, it is good to have a little bit of grip in your tray, especially if you're loading stuff like pallets or drums or stuff. You don't want them sliding all around the place unnecessarily. So we're going to put that in the floor when we paint the floor of the tray, but everything else is just going to get straight wrapped, because we don't want these to grip, particularly when you're sliding them on and off the pins. You just want them to slide on and off easy, but we are painting them. So that'll be the next step. So we'll do these sides. We're going to rub them down, wash them down with damp cloth, clean them off with spirit as recommended, and then I will prep wash them, and then they'll be ready for paint. And then we'll prime them, let them sit, for the recommended period. Then we'll paint them in 2 coats of Raptor, and then we'll get into the tray. The tray's going to need a couple more modifications before we do that, but in prep we're doing these, and the tray will cover the modifications we're going to do on that another day. Really easy to use. If you have had something that's sandblasted, or you buy a panel that's you've left and you've sanded the back, don't get back to it, or you see some surface rust and something like a tray that you're repainting. Rust converter is not an expensive product. It's so cheap, and it really does a good job, as you can tell. Like to change from that, which you don't want to paint over rust, to something like that, just gives you a little bit of confidence that you can get into the job and get it done. But you don't want to handle it a lot like I'm handling a lot, but clean it all off, have it ready, because back in the day when I was sandblasting, I worked for a sandblaster. One of the things we used to find annoying in the panel shop is we'd sandblast a car, and the first thing people would want to do is come and touch it. The owner would want to come and touch it, and then over the next few days you'd see the fingerprints. If you didn't touch it, no problem, it'd just sit there bare metal. But you touch it, water drip on it or something, but usually it was just people wanting to touch it, and then that's where you'd see fingerprints of just slight rust coming, and because we were sticklers, we didn't like painting over rust. So anyways, rust converter is quite a handy product if you're doing something like this project. So that's the next step along the way in our Project 6-seater. I'd recommend using it. It's not an expensive product. It's super easy to apply and then to clean off, and just gives you a little bit of surety that you're painting over good, clean metal before you apply your primer and then your top coat. Quick video today. I hope that was useful for you. Thanks for watching.